So I've just finished watching a press conference with Julen Lopetegui and Tim Steidten. It's Lopetegui's first, press conference as West Ham head coach, West Ham manager, whatever you want to call him. Of course, we've seen him before. He's done an in-house interview with the club's own sort of television team, but it's the first time he's answered questions that have been opened up to the floor, to the press, basically. And I've got to say, was very, very interested by what he had to say. This is brand new. This is something completely new as a West Ham fan for me to see two people up there in terms of a director of football and certainly a head coach who clearly have a shared responsibility for taking the club forward rather than what we're used to, which is one omnipotent, all-powerful manager fielding questions from everybody. And it was weird to see, but very refreshing. I mean, this is the way it goes. This is the way European football is. It's the way continental football is. Well, not just European, basically world football, aside from England for so long. And look, it works. This would be a very, very bad time, I think, to start making the claim that the English way of doing things is the modern way and the way forward, certainly. So there's a reason other clubs delegate and almost cut in half their two responsibilities for running a football club in this way. One person dealing with recruitment and transfers, the other one dealing with training and forging and building a team and tactics. And I thought it worked really, really well. I did wonder, I couldn't help but wonder when I was watching it, if this sort of shared burden of pressure is going to be helpful. There's certainly... We'll deal with David Moyes if you want, but I think you could look back at any number of managers over the years at West Ham or anywhere else. They look lonely, particularly when it comes to the end. So I think this sort of shared burden was quite a good thing. It was a real learning experience for me to watch this. Been doing this Hammers Chat stuff, in a video since 2015. And yeah, never seen anything quite like this before from a West Ham point of view. So much so, I made some notes on my trusty whiteboard there. So I'm going to go through these notes. So you'd have to excuse me if I keep referring back to them. But there was quite a lot to take in. It was 22 minutes worth of interview, but I don't feel there was any wasted time within those 22 minutes. I think the first thing I probably want to pick out is the chemistry between the two men. They clearly got on well. They clearly have a high regard for one another. There's enough confidence in their own roles and enough humility in the other person's mandated tasks that nobody appeared to be sort of had the ump with what the other was doing. And this is a really good thing. If you remember towards the end, David Moyes' tenure at West Ham, Tim Steidten had been banned from the training ground and banned from the dressing room in the stadium and that sort of thing. You very much now have a head coach who is used to working within the parameters of a system whereby you have a director of football. There was chemistry, there was laughs and jokes between them. They both admitted that they speak every single day, either personally or on the phone, and that they're there to help each other, or particularly very much that Steidten's there to help Lopetegui. And not just in terms, his words, of bringing, I guess, individual players in, but actually trying to highlight and find out and learn from the head coach what type of player he wants, how his tactics are going to be moving forward. This is how it should have been. This absolutely is the right way to do it. It just means if your head coach doesn't work out, you get another head coach in who has a similar sort of ethos and tactics and style of playing. It means you don't have to completely change the playing squad. And I think that was really, really important. It was really nice to see that camaraderie between them, because there was a point where one of the journalists asked Lopetegui, and he said, you're going to have a busy summer, got many transfers lined up and whatnot, and what do you need for the team? And he very much, he just deferred the question. He said, well, you're probably better off asking Tim. That's his department there, really. It was nice to see. Don't get me wrong, I think the manager's going to have his input on players, and Steidten admitted as much. But both were clearly very comfortable in their roles, and I think that's important. It's always going to be difficult for Moyes in this ever-changing role that that went from manager to head coach, it was always going to be difficult for somebody that was used to running and having his fingers in every pie, basically, as David Moyes did. It's always going to be hard to, when you've been the omnipotent, ultimate boss, it's very, very hard to delegate and lose half of your job to somebody else, I guess. So that part I liked. In terms of Steidten, Steidten was asked about the summer transfer window. He said it's going to be a busy summer. And where there was what did he say? He said, we're able to spend money and we don't have to sell, he said, because of the hard work that the board have done over the past 2 years. Now, that's somewhat different to what the board have been saying and what they've been leaking. But as I've maintained all along with this stuff, it would not be a prudent negotiating strategy to tell anybody how much money you have to spend. So I've always been a little bit wary, a little bit cynical about these leaked figures of how much we got to spend. So it was really nice to hear that from Steidten. He didn't certainly carry the demeanour of a man that was a little bit concerned about what may or may not be available to him. Seemed very, very sure. Definitely a man speaking with assurance. And I thought that was really good to see on that. So, yeah, he said it's going to be a very, very busy summer. What was interesting as well was when Lopetegui himself was being asked about football. Now, I don't know if you remember this. It was when Sam Allardyce had his first ever press conference. There were a few things that I often laugh at over the years. He said, no Sam Allardyce team will ever lose by 3 goals and stuff like that. We'll never let a 3-goal lead slip. Or just, there was a load of stuff that Sam Allardyce said, what's the West Ham way? Losing. He said a lot of stuff, right, which really came back and bit him on the arse. He actually outright lied as well, by the way. Sorry. Talk about holding a grudge. He said in his press conference, he talked about West Ham having a soft underbelly, and he said, as a player, we always look forward to coming to West Ham because we knew that they were a soft touch. And actually, somebody on the Hammers Chat forum actually went through his record, and I think the only time they looked, I think he played with Notts County, he played for Millwall, can't remember, but they looked at all the clubs that Sam Allardyce had played for, and actually he'd always lost at Upton Park. He got 1 draw. So he basically made it. He just lied in his press conference. Oh, you go to West Ham, they're a soft touch. We always knew we'd come away with 3 points. It never happened once. You got a draw. 1 draw. That was the best. Anyway, so he said a lot of things. But one of the other things that he said that sort of goes under the radar, and something that actually makes a lot of sense, we just never saw it, was that he said, I want 2 styles of play. He said, I want one away from home and I want one for home. He alluded to the fact that the home style would be a little bit more offensive, a little bit more entertaining, but he indicated that when we go away from home, we're going to have to tighten up a little bit. I've never had a problem with anyone saying that. I think that's actually the sensible thing to do, isn't it? We just never ever saw it. Obviously, it was something that style of play and being overly defensive in games you didn't need to be was not just something that was levelled at Sam Allardyce, it was something that was levelled obviously against David Moyes very recently. So it was interesting to hear Lopetegui speak about being pragmatic, really. He didn't say the word pragmatic, but he did talk about a switch of tactics. He said sometimes we're going to have to counter-attack, just reading this now, sometimes it'll be possession. I thought that was interesting. So I think he was very much setting the expectations. He was pretty much saying, look, I like good football. I want winning football. I was talking about the tempo of the Premier League as well. Make no mistake about it, this guy fancies himself in the Premier League. It's something that we knew and something we've been discussing for the last few months since he's been linked with a club on this channel. We know he remained in this country, and so did some of his coaches as well after the Wolves job. He basically decided to get an encyclopedic knowledge of the league and the teams, and he spent his time studiously looking at everything that was going on in a domestic game. And he was ready. He really, really wanted a Premier League job. And it was really interesting because it's something, as I say, we discussed quite a lot on this channel because they were the rumours, that's what you'd heard, that's what you get told. And then to hear him say it, I thought, okay, that's very interesting. But you can tell when someone's got confidence. He fancies a go. It's like he's looked at the Premier League, he's looked at the pace of it, say tempo, the tempo of the Premier League, and he thought, I can do that. I've got a tactic for that. He spoke about having learnt a lot more since he finished his time at Wolves, which was really, really good. there was a bit actually, which I thought was a little bit naughty, and it was from Ian Abrahams, who of course is the Moose on TalkSport. It was mischief. It was mischief making. It absolutely was. So Ian Abrahams said style of football is very, very important to West Ham fans. I'm paraphrasing him here, but it's more or less what he said. Are you going to drastically improve the style of football at West Ham? Are you going to give West Ham fans something like Tottenham have got with Ange Postecoglou there? Now, it was naughty. And I'll tell you why it was naughty. Because I have heard Ian Abrahams speak about Lopetegui's style of football. He knows. Ian Abrahams knows exactly what Lopetegui is. Ian Abrahams knows for certain, he knows, that Lopetegui is not Ange Postecoglou. He's far more defensive than it. He knows it. He absolutely knows it. So bear in mind, he knows he's not Ange Postecoglou, yet he asked a question. I thought, well, that's an interesting one. What's the motive there? That was naughty. I don't know what he was doing. I don't know if he was trying to be clever. I don't know if he was trying to set him up for fail. I don't know if he was trying to trick him. But he didn't believe what he was saying. He knows that's not the case. He knows there's no way that Lopetegui's going to do that. I don't know whether he was trying to set a lofty expectation for some West Ham fans who maybe don't know what to expect from Lopetegui. Lopetegui's a possession-based manager who likes it tight at the back, all right? Really, really tight at the back. He will strangle the opposition. He's not throwing everyone forward and leaving nobody defending. That's not his style of football at all. So it was just weird. What are we doing there? Why would you do that? It just felt a little bit mischievous, really. Anyway, so that was that. That was, and to be fair, the only negative thing I took away from the press conference was that particular question. I also thought it was a waste of a question. We got 22 minutes. The whole world, including Abraham, knew that Lopetegui is not Postecoglou. So anyway, it would have been a good time to find out something else. What we did find out though was talking about Lucas Paquetá. They spoke about Alvarez and about the injury. It's normal stuff there. I won't bore you with it. I've already taken up enough of your time. But what was really interesting was the way they spoke about Paquetá. I'm just trying to remember it exactly as it was. But basically, Steidten says, I went and visited him when he was in Brazil. So Paquetá was in Brazil. Steidten was clearly in Brazil doing some of his scouting. And I think by the sounds of it, he phoned up Lucas Paquetá, said, how are you, mate? I can pop over and see you. That's good. That is really, really good. It's the type of schmoozing that we've not been very good at. I don't think Moyes could do it. I don't think the ownership can do it. So it needs somebody in these sort of, if you like, executive roles. They're not executive, but you know what I mean? They're these top roles within the club to go and do that. Well, I guess if you're a director of football, you're a non-executive director, aren't you? But you know what I mean? Just somebody to grasp the nettle and actually take these things on board and know what's good and actually recognise that you're dealing with human beings here. And I think it was Steidten that was asked a question, and then Lopetegui said, "Do you mind if I just come in on that question as well, please, about Lucas Paquetá?" And he went and said a load of really nice things about Lucas Paquetá. Basically, he said, "I know his family are suffering. We want to make him feel welcome. We want West Ham to be his family." He said, "I noticed in a Copa, and basically he said he noticed in the Copa America that he was playing with a smile on his face. He was. I don't know if you've seen the Uruguay highlights. Paraguay 4-1. Brazil 4, Paraguay 1. I don't know if you've seen the highlights. He was happy. He was, and I said we said it a couple of days ago in a video, didn't we? But it had been noted. It had been noted by Lopetegui, and I thought that was nice. And it was clear that he was. He didn't try and slag David Moyes off. He didn't. In fact, he went out of his way to praise what David Moyes has done. But he did make the observation that clearly Paquetá was enjoying his football. And also made a reference, we're going to bring him back here and we're going to try and do the same. Hopefully, just he'll enjoy playing in a slightly more possession-based team. It was lovely to hear, actually. Really, really good to hear that they're going to throw throw their arms around you, give them a cuddle, basically, which I think is really good. So overall, really impressed, actually. Really, really impressed with what I heard, what I saw. The words made sense. The body language often gives stuff away. And he was not two men sat next to each other like that. They were like that, and they were laughing and they were talking. There was a lot of good stuff going on there. There's clearly a couple of people who are very comfortable in each other's company, and looking forward to the project. And I believe that. I believe that. I think it's an easy, trotted out phrase. Looking forward to the project at my new club. I believe them. I believe them. I really do. I think if I'm reading between the lines, I think Steidten feels liberated, and he's been given the freedom to operate as a director of football that he certainly wasn't enjoying last season. And I think for him, he probably has, even though it might not be the amount of money that we think as West Ham is a massive amount of money, it's probably more money than, I'm going to get his, Simon Rolfs at Leverkusen, who he was working under. He's probably a bigger budget than Leverkusen usually have. So he probably thinks it's quite a nice amount of money. So you could tell he was chomping at the bit to carry on doing his transfer stuff. Very clear that Lopetegui was chomping at the bit to get training started and to sort of try it out in the Premier League. He's looking forward to Aston Villa. There's no doubt about that in my mind at all. It was, well, maybe you feel differently. I was going to say there's no way that you couldn't come away from that press conference and not feel excited and positive about the future of West Ham. I'm not telling you what to think at all. I certainly do myself. I really do. It was a really good thing to watch. Impressive. Just goes to show, actually. I didn't feel that there was a translator there. I think there was one part where quite possibly Lopetegui referred to somebody, but that was in regard to how he'd left Wolverhampton Wanderers. I'd understand that. I didn't feel it was overly managed. This is what happens when you just let people speak, I think. And they did really, really well. Really, really well. So, yeah, looking forward to it. There's a lot more to pick out of this. I'll probably be doing so over the next couple of days. Gio will be on your screens tomorrow over on the main channel. I think he's been having a look at it. We've not spoken. We've had a text. Apart from that, I don't know precisely what he feels about it, and his first time will be when he hears this. It'd be interesting to hear what he's taken away from that press conference. Very interested to know what you guys have taken away from it. Did you watch it? Even if you didn't, just maybe react to some of the things that I've said as well. Be very, very interested to know what you think about it. Do you feel more positive now than you did when we were linked to Lopetegui? He wasn't anyone's first choice, was he? I think that's fair to say. He wasn't. Certainly not going to sit here and start claiming he was my first choice. He wasn't. But I feel a lot better about it now. Yeah, good job. Sorry, one other thing. This is the thing. I wrote lists. I wrote lists here. Sorry, one more thing. Look, it's actually second on my list there. Communication, young players. Tim Steidten said that he was pleased to get Lopetegui because he's a good communicator. That much is clear. If you look at him in those behind-the-scenes videos, I mean, he said he speaks 4 languages. So, I mean, that's very, very good, particularly in that sort of, multinational dressing room. It's going to be certainly an advantage to do so, isn't it? They also spoke about young players, bringing young players through. And I think it might have got lost because it was right near the start of it. And it did get lost because I've even got lost. I even lost it, and it was like I actually wrote it down on my whiteboard. So, yeah, very, very interesting there. So anyway, let me know what you think about it. I think impressive press conference.